Pulling up to that rusty iron gate on my 200-acre spread in the rolling hills of Montana one crisp morning back in 19, fresh off a week in Boise hashing out old case files with retired detectives over too many beers, I was just craving that wide-open quiet, the kind where you can hear the wind whispering through the pines, maybe fire up the smoker for some venison I'd stashed away. But nope. Right there blocking my way were these two clowns in crisp green polos, one clutching a binder like a shield, the other yapping into a radio as if expecting backup from the FBI. And in that instant, my gut twisted because this wasn't just some mix-up. It was the start of a full-on siege on everything I'd built, all because Rita Voss, the iron-fisted head of the nearby Riverbend HOA, had her eyes on my private riverfront, driven by this burning envy that my off-grid haven wasn't under her thumb like the rest of those cookie-cutter lots she'd turned into her little empire. They stepped up as I rolled down the window of my beat-up Ford, the skinny one flashing a flimsy badge and droning on about ecological rezoning protocols like he was reading from a bad script, claiming my stretch of the Blackfoot River was suddenly community heritage land, tied to their development from way back in the 60s, demanding keys to my cabin, the boathouse, even the solar shed I'd wired myself. Me, Jake Harlan, ex-fraud buster, who'd sniffed out Ponzi schemes from Seattle to Dallas, standing there barefoot in the dust, barking back, "You boys lost? This is my deed, my taxes, my sweat, state auction, clean as a whistle." But the burly one just smirked behind his aviators, muttering, "Non-compliance with shared riparian rights means we're authorized to secure the premises," grabbing for my keyring like it was his, and that's when instinct kicked in. I shoved him off with a sharp, "Touch that again, and you'll need a dentist," the scuffle short and ugly, his fist grazing my knuckles before I hit the silent alarm buried in the fence post, summoning my crew. Old Hank, the grizzled former marshal who'd traded his badge for fly fishing but still carried that no-nonsense glare. Toby, my ranch hand who knew every inch of fence like a poem. And Lyle, the tech whiz who'd rigged my drones to map the whole place better than Google ever could. The sheriff's deputy showed up minutes later, lights flashing but no siren, listening to their bluster about provisional authority, while I handed over my ironclad papers, deeds, water permits, boundary surveys, and he just shook his head saying, "Fellas, this ain't your turf. Pack it up or we're talking trespass," sending them scurrying with tails between their legs. But as their SUV kicked up gravel, the skinny one yelled out the window, "This rezoning's happening whether you like it or not." And deep down, I knew Rita's greed wasn't about ecology. It was personal, her seeing my self-sufficient slice as a threat to her control-freak kingdom, where she'd find folks for unapproved mailboxes while expanding her community perks on the sly, all to pad her ego, and maybe flip some lots for profit. But me? I'd spent years unraveling scams. This felt like home turf, stirring that old fire in my chest, the one that said, "Not on my watch." So I hunkered down, feeling the weight of isolation shift to resolve, knowing the real fight was just brewing. Then came the hammer. 2 days later, a thick envelope from the district court, Rita's HOA slapping me with a lawsuit claiming my riverbank was historically annexed, via some redrawn map that magically swallowed my acres, arguing the state sale was bogus under dusty zoning clauses, and hot on its heels. A notice from the water board freezing my irrigation rights, citing disputed aquatic zones, leaving my pumps dry and my fields thirsty, all while flyers popped up in town calling me a land hoarder blocking public heritage, painting me as the villain in their PR blitz to rally locals against the outsider who dared go independent. It hit hard, that violation of what I'd carved out after years of chasing shadows in the corporate underbelly, but I didn't crack. Instead, I called my lawyer pal Carla, who spat fire over the phone. "This is a classic squeeze play, Jake. They're fabricating chaos to force a sellout." Her words fueling my pivot from defense to offense, drawing on those investigative roots where I'd toppled bigger crooks. We turned the tables with a sly trap. Lyle and I cooked up a phony online ad on a local forum, touting Exclusive river mooring leases adjacent to River Bend. HOA partners welcome. And bam, within hours, Rita's email lit up our dummy inbox, her message gushing. We'll integrate this into our master plan. The current holder's just a placeholder. We'll reclaim it soon. Attaching a sketch of my dock as shared amenity. Her arrogance spilling out like she'd already won, motivated by that toxic mix of power, hunger, and resentment toward anyone not bowing to her rules. But we weren't done when they escalated with a bogus environmental complaint to the state, claiming my banks harbored endangered river otters that didn't exist this far north, halting my solar upgrades and fencing repairs. I brought in my old biologist buddy, Sam, who camped out with gear and samples, chuckling later over coffee. Jake, this report's pure fiction. No otters, no habitats. It's a ghost story to bury you in red tape. His findings the smoking gun we needed, exposing Rita's manipulation as a desperate bid to erode my hold, her envy boiling over because my freedom mocked her gated conformity. Armed with that, we rallied the troops, hosting a gathering at the old community barn, spreading out the forged maps, emails, and surveys for neighbors to see, watching eyes widen as the retired couple next door realized their back trail was marked as public access, or the farmer downriver spotted his firebreak labeled communal easement, turning isolated gripes into a united front against Rita's overreach. Her schemes rooted in years of HOA bullying to expand influence and boost property values for her inner circle. We fired back with a multi-million countersuit for fraud, harassment, conspiracy, the works, tossing in Rita's voicemail where she sneered, "He's squatting on our future marina. We'll squeeze him out." Her voice dripping with that smug entitlement that made my blood boil. The courtroom day dawned like a showdown in an old western. Me in my worn boots, Carla sharp as a tack, Lyle with laptops humming evidence, the place packed with locals leaning forward like it was primetime drama, Rita across the aisle in her power suit, flashing that predatory smile as her lawyers spun tales of preserving communal legacy with their doctored charts. But Carla rose calm and lethal, shredding their map as Photoshop fantasy, unveiling the authentic 70s exclusion order that locked my land as protected reserve, then playing Rita's recording, her words echoing, "We'll take it back soon." The judge's brow furrowing as silence fell, heavy and electric. Under oath, Rita fidgeted, her composure cracking as Carla pressed, "Why fabricate otter habitats? Why email about reclaiming private property?" Her stammers exposing the raw greed, the judge booming, "This reeks of fraud. Refer to the DA." And right there, deputies cuffed her mid-protest. "You can't. This is my community." Her face crumbling in defeat, the room exhaling in stunned vindication as claims dissolved, orders barred further meddling, and her empire teetered. In the aftermath, the ranch breathed easier, water flowing again, gates fortified with Lyle's tech wizardry, including a cheeky sign reading "Private Paradise, HOA Free Zone, Trespassers Prosecuted with Gusto." While the barbecue we threw drew crowds, Hank toasting with a grin, to Jake, who turned their siege into our victory, the air thick with brisket smoke and shared relief. Rita got indicted on a dozen counts, pleading down to years behind bars. Her board ousted, bylaws gutted, my case sparking reforms that rippled through counties, empowering others to fight back. But looking back, as I grill by the river under a Montana sunset, drones sketching patriotic arcs overhead, I wonder, did exposing her heal the divides, or just deepen the trenches between independents like me and those chasing community at any cost, leaving scars that rules can't mend? What about you? Ever tangled with an HOA gone rogue, where lines between neighborly and predatory blur? Drop a comment. Was I justified in going full counterattack, or should I have settled quieter? Share your battles. Like if this hits home, subscribe for more Real Talk tales. Let's unpack what true ownership means in a world full of grabbers.